The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for thousands of years. Its laws were simple: no war, no anger, no strong emotions. Everything must be calm, quiet, and smooth like still water. This was called the doctrine of harmony, and every species in the galaxy followed it. Or at least, they pretended to. Then came humanity. Humans had only unlocked faster-than-light travel about 100 years ago. Compared to the ancient races of the galaxy like the tall, silver-eyed Eltherians or the slow-speaking, rock-skinned Grom humans were babies. But they learned fast. Too fast, some said. Within a few decades, they had colonies on a dozen worlds, built sleek ships that danced between stars, and created machines that could think almost like living beings. The council watched with polite smiles and hidden worry. Ambassador Elias Vorn stood on the observation deck of the council spire, a needle of crystal and light that pierced the clouds of the capital world, Celestara. Below him, the city moved in perfect silence. No honking horns, no shouting crowds, no music too loud. Just soft footsteps and the whisper of wind through gardens shaped like spirals. It was beautiful, and it made his skin crawl. He missed the noise of Earth, the laughter in crowded markets, the roar of football crowds, even the angry honks of traffic in New Delhi or Sao Paulo. Here, silence wasn't peaceful. It was control. A chime sounded behind him. He didn't turn. He knew who it was. Ambassador Vorn, said a smooth voice. "You are late for the Synod meeting." Elias turned slowly. Speaker Zinra stood in the doorway, her long, pale robes flowing around her like mist. Her eyes were calm, empty of judgment, but Elias knew better. The Eltherians saw everything. They just chose not to react. "I was reflecting on the meaning of harmony," Elias said, offering a small, polite smile. "Reflection is permitted," Zinra replied, "but not defiance." They walked together down the glass corridor toward the chamber where the council met. Around them, delegates from other species moved with quiet grace. No one ran. No one argued. No one even raised their voice above a murmur. Humans were different. Elias remembered his first week on Celestara. He'd laughed loudly at a joke from his aide, and 3 security drones had hovered near him for the next hour. Later, he was gently advised to wear a neural dampener, a small silver band around his temple that smoothed out sharp emotions. Most humans wore them now, not because they wanted to, but because if they didn't, they'd be labeled unstable. The dangerous dot inside the Synod chamber. The air hummed with silent energy. 200 species sat in concentric rings, each in their designated section. Humans had the smallest section, near the back, a reminder of their place. Today's topic, cultural compliance. Specifically, human history. Earth's educational archives still contain records of ancient wars, said a Grom delegate, his voice like grinding stone. Images of violence. Speeches filled with rage. This contradicts the doctrine. Elias stepped forward. "Those records are part of our past," he said carefully. "We study them so we never repeat them." "Isn't that wisdom, not weakness?" A ripple passed through the chamber. Not sound, just a shift in posture, a flicker of eyes. To the council, even questioning the rules was rebellion. "Wisdom requires emotional neutrality," Zinra said. "Your species still celebrates competition. You hold races, games, contests of strength. These stir pride. Pride leads to conflict. We call them sports," Elias said, trying to keep his voice light. "They build community, teamwork, joy." "Joy is acceptable," Zinra replied, "but not when it borders on frenzy." Last month, during the Zero-G Ball finals, your spectators produced adrenaline levels that triggered nearby peace monitors. Elias bit his tongue. He wanted to shout that joy shouldn't be measured by machines. That humans cried at weddings and screamed at victories not because they were broken, but because they were alive, but he said nothing. He nodded. We will review our protocols. Later, back in the human sector of the embassy, Elias removed his dampener. The relief was instant and sharp. Emotions rushed back like floodwaters. Frustration, longing, a deep, burning pride for his kind. On his desk, a small screen played a forbidden file. Footage of Earth's old Olympic Games. Crowds roaring. Athletes weeping. Flags waving in wind. His aide, Lena, entered with a data pad. The council just ordered all human colonies to disable their defense drones, she whispered. Says they create an atmosphere of potential aggression. Elias laughed, a real laugh, loud and rough. They think peace is the absence of weapons. We know it's the presence of justice. Lena smiled, but her eyes were tired. They're watching us closer now. I heard 2 of our scientists were asked to undergo emotional recalibration after they argued about a reactor design. Argued? Elias frowned for 3 hours, with hand gestures. He shook his head. Humans didn't just talk. They shouted, whispered, laughed, cried, cursed. They built symphonies and space stations with the same hands that threw punches in bars. That was the problem. The council wanted everyone to be like them. Calm, still, predictable. But humans were storms in skin. That night, Elias walked through the human quarter. It was small, tucked between the Grom and the insect-like Vix. But it was alive. Soft music played from an open window, real instruments, not synthesized tones. A group of kids played a fast-paced game with floating orbs, shouting and diving. An old man sat on a bench, telling stories about Earth's oceans to wide-eyed children who had never seen water that wasn't recycled. For a moment, Elias felt hope, but then he saw the drones. 3 of them, hovering just beyond the light, silent, watching. He knew the truth. The council didn't fear human weapons. They feared human spirit. The way humans mourned loud and loved harder. The way they dreamed of stars and then flew to them. The way they refused to be tamed. Back in his quarters, Elias opened a secure channel. Not to Earth Central, too risky, but to a hidden network known only to a few. He typed a single line. They're tightening the leash. Prepare Phase 1. He didn't know what would come next. War? Exile? Silence? But he knew one thing. Humanity would not kneel to stillness. Not while a single heart still beat with wild, messy, beautiful chaos. Outside, the city of Shalastara slept in perfect harmony. And far away. On Earth, children still played in the rain, laughing as thunder rolled. The Cathar came without warning. They tore through the outer edge of the galaxy like a blade through silk. Their ships were black and jagged, shaped like broken teeth. They did not speak. They did not negotiate. They burned worlds and turned cities into ash. Millions died in the first month. Entire systems went silent. The Galactic Council watched. They met in their crystal chamber, calm as ever. Speaker Zinra stood at the center, her voice smooth as glass. This is a test of harmony, she said. To fight the Cathar is to become like them. Violence only breeds more violence. So the council made their choice. They would not fight. Instead, they would open a new corridor in Space One that led away from their oldest worlds and let the Cathar take the outer colonies. Sacrifice is part of balance, Zinra declared. We preserve the whole by letting go of the edge. But on the edge lived humans. Eos Prime was a small world, green and windy, settled by Earth 50 years ago. It had no army, no warships, just farmers, engineers, teachers, and a few old defense drones repurposed to guard mining stations. When the evacuation order came from the council, the people of Eos Prime read it, discussed it, and said no. We built this place, said Captain Mira Chun, head of Eos Prime Security. We're not running. Her team worked day and night. They stripped mining lasers from deep drill rigs. They linked fusion reactors to old cargo shuttles. They turned comms towers into signal jammers. It wasn't a military plan. It was a mess of human stubbornness and quick thinking. But it worked. When the first Cathar ship entered orbit, it expected an easy kill. Instead, it found a swarm of drone mines hidden in asteroid belts, guided by teenagers using school-grade simulators. It found its shields overloaded by a burst of radio noise, shaped like a rock song from Earth's 20th century. And when it tried to land troops, its drop pods were melted mid-air by jury-rigged laser arrays mounted on tractors. The Cathar ship retreated damaged. Confused. Back on Chelistara, the news spread like fire in dry grass. Humans had fought. Not with an army, not with permission, but with scrap metal and wild ideas. And they had won. The council was furious. In the Synod chamber, the air grew colder than space. Delegates from peaceful species trembled. The Groms slammed their stone fists on the floor in rare anger. Humanity has broken harmony, one cried. Zinra said nothing for a long time. Then she spoke, her voice quieter than ever. They were warned. A week later, a formal decree was sent to every human world, every ship, every station. All human military technology, no matter how small, must be destroyed. All human leaders must wear full neural regulators, devices that would not just soften emotions, but erase aggression entirely. Earth's planetary defense grid must be handed over to Council control. And if humanity refused, they would be declared out of harmony, a status worse than enemy. It meant no trade, no communication, no help. They would be cut off from the galaxy, left to rot in silence. Ambassador Elias Vorn stood before Zinra alone. No aids, no dampener. His hands were steady, but his heart pounded like a war drum. This isn't justice, he said. It's fear. Peace requires sacrifice, Zinra replied. Peace without freedom isn't peace, Elias shot back. It's a cage. Zinra tilted her head. For the first time, something flickered in her eyes. Was it doubt? Curiosity? You value chaos over order. We value choice, Elias said. You took yours away long ago. We won't. He left the chamber with his head high. But inside, he was afraid. Not for himself, for everyone back home. For the kids on Eos Prime, who had just defended their world with courage and duct tape. For the scientists who dreamed of stars, not silence. For the poets who still wrote about love and loss in a galaxy that called such things instability. Back at the human embassy, chaos had already begun, but the good kind. Quiet, fast, efficient chaos. Lena met him at the door, her face pale but determined. Earth Central just confirmed it. They're not surrendering. Not one ship. Not one weapon. Elias nodded. Good. They also sent a message. It's coded. From Project Exodus. His breath caught. Project Exodus was a myth, a backup plan so secret only a handful knew it existed. It wasn't about fighting. It was about vanishing. Are we really doing this? Lena whispered. If we stay, we become ghosts in our own skins, Elias said. If we leave, we stay human. Over the next few days, humans across the galaxy began to disappear. Not all at once. Not loudly. But quietly, like shadows slipping through cracks. On Celestara, human shops closed for maintenance. Human. Delegates missed meetings due to sudden illness. Human. Ships in orbit reported engine failures and drifted off course. But it was all a lie. Beneath the surface, humans moved like water. Data cores were wiped. Hidden drives were loaded onto maintenance drones. Families packed only what they could carry: photos, seeds, old books, a single musical instrument. Every human ship, even small freighters, activated long-dormant fold space modules devices, disguised as cargo coolers or medical units. The Council noticed nothing. They were too busy watching for rebellion, not retreat. On Eos Prime, Captain Mira Chun stood on a hill, watching the last transport lift off. Below, the town was empty. Windows dark. Doors locked. But the gardens were watered. The animals fed. It looked peaceful. Almost normal. Daughter come beeped. Chun, this is Rostova. All colonies report ready. We jump in 12 hours. Copy that, Myra said. She looked up at the stars. Tell Earth, we're coming home. Admiral Anya Rostova, once a quiet engineer, now the hidden leader of human resistance, sat in a hidden bunker beneath Luna's surface. Around her, screens showed fleet positions, fuel levels, escape routes. She had spent 10 years preparing for this moment. Not for war, for freedom. She typed a final message to every human in Council space. When they demand your silence, give them your absence. When they demand your obedience, give them your back. We leave not in fear but in pride. On Celestara, Elias stood in his empty office. The neural dampener lay on his desk, unpowered. He picked it up, turned it over in his hands, then dropped it into a recycler. He walked out of the embassy for the last time. The city was quiet, beautiful. Dead at the spaceport, he boarded a small, unmarked shuttle. Inside, Lena was already at the controls. Ready? She asked. He sat beside her. As will ever be. Above them, the stars waited. Back in the Synod chamber, Zinra received the first report. Human delegation has vanished. No trace. Then another. Eos Prime is empty. Then another. All human vessels in Sector 9 have gone dark. She stood in silence. For the first time in centuries, she felt something unfamiliar. Not anger. Not fear. Lost. She walked to the observation deck, the same place where Elias had stood weeks ago. She looked out at the city, perfect and still. And for the first time, it felt empty. Far away, in the black between stars, hundreds of human ships powered up hidden engines. They did not fire weapons. They did not send messages. They simply folded space and slipped away like a whisper, leaving a room full of silence. The last thing the galaxy heard from humanity was a single broadcast, repeating on all frequencies for exactly 1 hour. A recording of a human choir singing Beethoven's Ode to Joy. Then static. Then nothing. The Galactic Council waited for them to return. To beg. To submit. They never did. And in that silence, something new began to grow, not in the stars, but in the hearts of those left behind. But that was for another time. For now, humanity was gone, and they were finally free. The galaxy noticed humanity's absence before it noticed their departure. At first, the Council thought it was a glitch. A few missing ships. A quiet embassy. No big deal. Humans were young. After all, maybe they were just sulking. But then more reports came in. Human trading posts on the rim fell silent. Medical aid stations once run by human doctors stood empty. Even the small cafes on neutral worlds, where humans served real coffee and played old Earth music, were shuttered. One morning, Ambassador Vorn's office on Celestara was simply gone, not destroyed, not attacked, just cleaned out, as if no one had ever lived there. The only thing left was a single paper note taped to the wall, written in plain letters. We tried to belong. You asked us to disappear. So we did. Panic spread slowly, like cold water. The Council sent scanners, drones, even a small peace fleet, but found nothing. No wreckage. No distress calls. No signs of battle. It was as if billions of humans had blinked out of existence all at once. The only clue was the looping audio file still echoing on dead channels, a human choir singing about joy, freedom, and brotherhood, words the council barely understood. Meanwhile, far beyond the mapped stars, in the uncharted swirl of the Perseus arm, humanity was very much alive. Hundreds of ships, freighters, science vessels, even old colony transports drifted in a hidden nebula called the Veil. No one in the council had ever charted it properly. Too chaotic, too full of magnetic storms and strange energy bursts. Exactly why humans chose it. Inside the command ship Odyssey, Admiral Anya Rostova stood before a wall of screens. Each showed a different vessel, a different face. Farmers, teachers, mechanics, doctors, soldiers, all of them now part of something new. "We're safe for now," she said, her voice calm but firm. "But safety isn't enough. We need a home." Earth was still theirs, but returning would invite the council's eye. So they looked deeper into the veil. Scouts found a star system with 3 green worlds, clean air, and no native intelligent life. Perfect. They called it New Sol. Over the next weeks, humans worked like ants building a hill. Ships landed gently on the largest world. Greenhouse domes rose from the soil. Water purifiers hummed to life. Children ran through fields of alien grass, laughing real laughter, loud and free. No neural dampeners. No silence laws. No fear of feeling too much. On one ship, an old engineer named Kato played his grandfather's violin under open stars. On another, teenagers held a zero-gravity dance party, music blasting through the hull. On the surface, farmers planted earth seeds beside native plants, mixing old and new. But not all was easy. Food was short. Some ships had lost supplies during the jump. A few people got sick, no hospitals yet. And always the fear lingered. What if they find us? Anya knew they couldn't hide forever. But hiding wasn't the plan. One night, she called a secret meeting. Only trusted captains. Only those who knew the truth of Project Exodus. "We don't just survive," she said. "We reach out." She explained her idea. Small, fast scout ships disguised as asteroid miners or science probes would slip back toward the edge of council space. Not to spy, to help. If there are others who suffer under harmony, she said, we show them they're not alone. The first mission went to the Vix system. The Vix were insect-like beings, once proud traders, now forced to erase their warrior poet history. Their youth were raised in emotion-suppressing creches. But underground, some still whispered old songs. A human scout ship, painted dull gray and labeled Celestara Geological Survey, Unit 47, dropped a crate near a Vix village. Inside, food, medicine, and data chips filled with Vix epics long banned by the council. No message. No signature. Just help. Within days, rumors spread. Ghosts are helping us, the Vix said. Human ghosts. Then came the Grom-mining world of Karduk. The Grom were massive, slow, and gentle, but the council had forced them to dismantle their ancient stone temples, calling them symbols of tribal pride. Now their young Grom had no stories, no history. Another crate appeared. This one held holograms of Grom ancestors, carving mountains into statues. And a note, you were never stones. You were always mountains. No one saw the ship, but everyone felt the change. Back in the Veil, humans built more than homes. They built hope. Ambassador Vorn, now just Elias again, taught history to children, real history, with wars and mistakes and heroes who cried and bled. Lena designed new ship engines that used solar winds like sails. Captain Myra Chun trained young pilots not just to fly, but to think, to outsmart, not outgun. And always, the scout ships went out. They never fired a shot, never showed a human face. But they left behind tiny sparks, seeds for drought-stricken worlds, code to unblock censored networks. even simple toys for children who had never played. The council tried to stop it. They increased patrols. They scanned for unusual energy signatures. They even sent undercover agents disguised as traitors into fringe systems. But humans were ghosts now. And ghosts don't leave footprints on Celestara. Speaker Zinra watched the reports with growing unease. Humanity is gone, the council insisted. But Zinra wasn't sure. She began to research Earth's past in secret. She watched footage of human protests, people shouting for justice. She listened to rock music that made her chest ache. She read poems about loss and love that left her silent for hours. One night, she played the Ode to Joy file the humans left behind. For the first time, she cried, not because she was sad, but because she finally understood. Harmony had protected them from pain, but it had also stolen their joy. Meanwhile, in the Vale, a young girl named May stood on a hill on New Sol, holding a small telescope. She had been born on a ship during the Exodus. She had never seen Earth, but she knew its story. Her teacher had told her, "Humans don't run from monsters. We build lighthouses so others can find their way." May looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, others were still trapped in silence. She smiled. "We'll find you," she whispered. And far away, on a dozen worlds, people began to whisper back. They started small. A Grom youth carved a hidden symbol on a wall. A Vic singer hummed a forbidden melody in the dark. On a quiet moon, a young Eltherian turned off their neural regulator for 10 seconds, just to feel what fear, hope, and wonder tasted like. The galaxy was changing, not with war, but with whispers. And humanity, though gone, was louder than ever. They had left not in defeat, but in promise. They were no longer part of the harmony, but they were becoming something better. A memory, a myth, a quiet revolution. And in the vast dark between stars, that was more powerful than any army. Rumors travel faster than ships. Even in a galaxy ruled by silence, whispers find a way. At first, they were small, just stories told in dark corners. A farmer on a distant moon found a crate of seeds that grew food in poisoned soil. A young Grom repaired a broken machine using instructions left on a data chip signed only with a human symbol. A circle with a line through it, like a rising sun. No one saw who left these gifts, but everyone knew who they came from. Human ghosts, they called them. The council tried to stamp out the rumors. They declared the stories false, dangerous, emotional contamination, their broadcasts warned. But the more they denied it, the more people believed. Then the Cathar returned. They had grown bolder since the council gave up the outer worlds. Now, they pushed deeper past old borders, past quiet systems, straight toward the heart of the galaxy. Their black ships swallowed light. Their attacks were sudden, cruel, and total. Cities vanished. Planets went dark. The council held emergency meetings. They debated. They measured. They calculated the acceptable loss to preserve harmony. But this time, someone fought back. On the mining world of Varel 9, a Cathar raiding party descended, expecting easy prey. Instead, they found their coms filled with static shaped, like human opera music. Their weapons jammed by pulses hidden in old Earth weather satellites left behind years ago, now reprogrammed. And when they landed, they were hit from above by drones made from scrap metal and guided by children, using game controllers. The Cathar ship limped away. No one claimed the victory. But on every screen in Varel 9, a single image flashed for 3 seconds. A human hand, raised not in anger, but in greeting. The galaxy took notice. More attacks followed. Not big wars, just small, smart strikes. A Cathar fuel depot exploded when its vents were clogged with frozen algae grown in secret greenhouses on a human scout ship. A command ship lost control when its navigation system was flooded with fake star maps showing black holes where there were none. Each time, the Cathar were confused, slowed, bleeding. And each time, the people watched and hoped. On Celestara, Speaker Zinra could no longer ignore the truth. She called a private meeting with her closest advisors, something unheard of in the Harmony. "They're not gone," she said quietly. "They're fighting for us." Her advisors were shocked. "Fighting is against Harmony." "Is it?" Zinra asked. "Or is letting others suffer the real crime?" She began to change. Slowly at first. She stopped wearing her regulator during private hours. She let herself feel frustration, doubt, even anger. She read human history not as a warning, but as a lesson. She learned that humans didn't love war. They loved freedom. And sometimes, freedom needed teeth. Meanwhile, deep in the Veil, humanity watched the galaxy shift. Admiral Anya Rostova stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, watching live feeds from scout ships near Cathar territory. "They're learning," she said to Captain Myra Chun. "Who?" Mira asked. "Everyone. The Grom are sharing weapons designs again. The Vix are singing in public. Even some Altherians are questioning the council." Anya smiled. "We didn't just run. We planted seeds. But they knew that Cathar wouldn't stop. And the council still wouldn't act. Then came the worst news. The Cathar had set their eyes on Elthera, the homeworld of the Altherians. The heart of the council. The symbol of Harmony itself. The council finally panicked. Fleets were gathered. Shields were raised. But their ships moved slowly, stuck in old rules. Do not strike first. Do not cause harm. Wait for peace. It was a death sentence. Zinra knew it. She stood on her balcony, looking at the twin moons of Elthera. For the first time, she felt helpless. Her people had built a perfect world, but it had no claws. Then, a message arrived. It came through an old emergency channel, one humans used during their first contact. No sender ID, just text. "We see you." "Hold on." Zinra's heart raced. She didn't know if she should trust it. But she had no choice. She gave a secret order. "Prepare the orbital defenses, but do not fire unless fired upon." And then, quietly, she opened a hidden channel to the outer fleets. "If help comes, do not attack it." Days passed. The Cathar Armada grew closer. Black ships filled the sky like storm clouds. On the final night before the attack, something strange happened. A small ship no bigger than a freighter slipped through the Cathar blockade. It didn't fire. It didn't flee. It broadcast a single frequency across all channels. The sound of rain falling on leaves. Then it vanished. The next morning, the Cathar attacked. Their first wave hit Elthera's shields like a hammer. Cities trembled. Energy grids flickered. The council fleet held formation, waiting for the right moment to respond. But then chaos. From the dark side of Elthera's moon, ships appeared. Not council ships. Not Cathar. Sleek fast, painted in dull gray with no markings. They moved like dancers, dodging, weaving, striking fast and vanishing. One ship launched drones that looked like asteroids, but exploded into clouds of reflective dust, blinding Cathar sensors. Another sent out a pulse that turned the KTHAR's own comms against them, playing recordings of their dead warriors' last words, something humans had recorded. During earlier battles, the Cathar panicked. Their perfect formation broke. Ships collided. Command fell silent. And through it all, the gray ships did not kill. They disabled. They confused. They protected. On the ground, Zinra watched from her war room. She saw a human-style tactic called the Ghost Weave, a pattern humans used in ancient sea battles, now played out in space. She recognized it from the history files she'd studied. Her hands shook not with fear, But after 3 hours, the Cathar retreated. Their losses were heavy. Elthra stood. The gray ships did not land. They did not speak. They simply turned and flew back into the dark. But before they left, they sent one message, this time to everyone. Freedom is not given. It is defended. The Free Stars Concord. The name spread like fire. The Free Stars Concord. Not an empire. Not a war machine. A promise. On 100 worlds, people looked up and smiled. Back in the Vale, Anya stood before her people. They know we're here now, she said. No more ghosts. From this day, we stand in the light. On Elthra, Zinra called the full synod. She walked into the chamber not in her usual calm, but with fire in her eyes. The doctrine of harmony is broken, she said. It kept us safe, but it made us weak. It taught us peace, but stole our courage. Gasps filled the room. We watched as others suffered. We called silence peace. But real peace needs strength, needs voice, needs heart. She paused. Humanity showed us that. Not by conquering us, but by leaving and still caring enough to return. She held up a data chip. This is from them. Not a weapon. A library. Music, poetry, medical knowledge. Blueprints for clean energy. She looked around. They offer not war, partnership. The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, a Grom delegate stood. Then a Vix. Then others. No one shouted. But for the first time in 1,000 years, the council chamber echoed with choice. Outside, on the streets of Shelistara, people began to gather. Not in fear, but in hope. And far away, in the Vale, a child named May planted a tree from earth beside a new building. She called it the House of Voices. Because now, the galaxy was learning to speak again. Not in whispers, but in songs. The Cathar did not learn. They only grew angrier. Their defeat at Elthra had wounded their pride. Now, they gathered every ship they owned, hundreds of black hulks bristling with weapons, and aimed them at one target, the Eltherian homeworld. They would not be tricked again. They would burn harmony to the ground. The council knew they could not win. Their ships were built for patrols, not war. Their soldiers were scholars, not fighters. Panic spread through Shelistara. Families packed what little they could carry. Leaders argued over whether to surrender or flee. Only Speaker Zimra remained calm. She had sent a message into the dark 3 days ago. No address, no signature, just coordinates and a single word. Now, she did not know if anyone would come, but she waited. On the edge of the Perseus Arm. In the Vale Nebula, alarms blared aboard the Odyssey. Admiral Anya Rostova stood tall on the bridge, eyes fixed on the star map. The Cathar are moving, said Captain Myra Chun. They'll hit Elthra in 48 hours. Anya nodded. Then we leave in 10. This was not a raid. Not a ghost mission. This was war, but human style. Fast, smart, full of heart. The Free Stars Concord assembled its fleet. Not just human ships now. Grom freighters refitted with stone-plated shields. Vix scouts painted in stealth ink. Even a few Eltherian deserters, those who'd fled harmony to join the new light, brought their silent, swift cruisers. They had no grand banners. No war cries. Just a simple rule. Protect the innocent, outthink the enemy, and never lose hope. As the fleet jumped toward Elthra, Anya walked the decks. She saw engineers welding last-minute upgrades, medics packing field kits, a young pilot humming an old Earth song as she checked her controls. These were not soldiers. They were teachers, farmers, poets, and they were ready to fight for a galaxy that once called them dangerous. The battle began at dawn on Elthra. The Cathar arrived like a tidal wave of shadow. Their cannons fired beams that melted cities. Their dropships swarmed the skies like locusts. The Council fleet met them, but slowly, carefully, by the book. They were being crushed. Then, from the far side of the planet's moon, the Concorde fleet appeared. No warning. No speeches. Just action. Human ships dove like hawks, launching drones that looked like space debris, but carried viruses that turned Cathar engines against themselves. Grom vessels formed a living wall, their thick hides absorbing blasts meant for cities below. Vix fighters darted in and out, slicing enemy comms with sonic blades shaped like ancient harps. And Anya? She led the heart of the attack. Her ship, the Odyssey, flew straight into the Cathar command ship, not to ram it, but to board it. Inside, Cathar warriors waited, claws sharp, eyes red with rage. But humans didn't fight with brute strength. They fought with ideas. While Marines held the line, a team of engineers hacked the ship's core, not to destroy it, but to rewrite its command codes. They flooded its systems with data, not weapons schematics, but Earth poetry. Bird songs, recordings of children laughing. The Cathar AI, built only for war, could not process it. It froze. Then came the final blow. Anya's team triggered a pulse, not of energy, but of sound. A single note, repeated. The opening chord of Beethoven's Ode to Joy, amplified through the Cathar ship's own speakers. The warriors clutched their heads. Their perfect war mind shattered by something they had never known. Beauty. The command ship went dark. Without orders, the Cathar fleet fell into chaos. Ships fired on each other. Drop pods missed their targets. The tide turned. On the ground, Zinra watched from a broken tower. She saw human ships shield refugee columns with their own hulls. She saw a Grom vessel take a blast meant for a hospital. She saw a Vix pilot guide a crashing Cathar fighter away from a school. This was not war as the galaxy knew it. This was protection. When the last Cathar ship fled, silence returned, but not the old silence. This was the quiet after a storm, full of breath and relief. The Concorde fleet did not land. They hovered, engines humming softly. Then, a channel opened. Anya's voice, clear and calm, filled every speaker on Elthera and every council world. We do not come to rule. We do not come to replace harmony with another cage. We come to say this. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of justice, choice, and care. She paused. You called us chaotic, dangerous, unstable. Maybe you were right. But chaos can heal. Danger can defend. And instability? That's just another word for hope. Then she said the words that would echo for generations. The Free Star's Concorde is open to all. Not as subjects, as partners. On Chelistara, people wept. In the Synod chamber, Zinra stood before her peers. Harmony was a shelter, she said. But we stayed inside too long. Now, the door is open. And the humans. They held it for us. She declared the doctrine of harmony ended. Not destroyed, but transformed. From now on, peace would include voice. Order would include freedom. Unity would include difference. Weeks later, the first joint meeting of the new Concorde took place, not in a crystal tower, but on a grassy hill on New Sol. Humans, Eltherians, Grom Vix, and a dozen other species sat in a circle. No thrones, no ranks, just people. Zinra walked beside Elias Vorn, now Earth's envoy again, but without a title, without a dampener. You could have conquered us, she said softly. We didn't want to rule you, he replied. We just wanted you to remember you could feel. On Ea's prime now rebuilt children played near a new statue. It showed a broken neural dampener with a sapling growing through its cracks. Beside it, an old man told stories of the Exodus, of ships in the dark, of songs that saved worlds. And on a quiet hill, A girl named May watered the tree she planted. Its leaves shimmered in the alien sun. "They're coming back," she whispered to the wind. And they were. Not as ghosts, not as rebels, but as neighbors. The galaxy was no longer silent. It was loud with music, debate, laughter, and the sound of 1,000 different voices learning to speak and listen. Together. Stars still burned. Wars might come again, but this time they would not face them alone, because humanity had not just returned. They had taught the galaxy how to be human. And in doing so, they had given everyone something rare and precious. Not just peace, but life, wild, messy, loud, and free.